heading for the cliff. That's the focus of tonight's angle. Now, as the angle noted last night, Democrats are in a hypersonic panic over the midterms in 2024. They know they're headed for a crash, which is why they convened their so-called Summit for Democracy yesterday. They're engaged in what I think is an elaborate but quite transparent attempt at preemptive spin.
We've doubled the number of attorneys defending and enforcing voting rights laws to prevent voting discrimination, provide baselines for accessing the ballot box.
The anti-voter laws that many states have passed are part of an intentional effort to exclude Americans from participating in our democracy. Our Congress must act.
Congress must act. They know these putrid bills are going nowhere, and thus all that's left is this: the Jussie Smollett defense to losing. In other words, we're not losers, we're victims. Victims of a racist system that perpetuates white privilege that somehow elected Barack Obama twice. And this is the party of hope and change, or at least it was? That's really funny. So what's clear is that Democrats are headed full speed ahead to the cliff's edge. Not only are they not hitting the brakes, though, they've cut the brake lines altogether. The old party of FDR and JFK is now more like the party of Thelma and Louise. Now, you think I'm exaggerating here? The GOP is leading the Democrats now by double digits in the generic ballot for the first time ever in the CNBC All-American survey. That's a 10-point lead. And Biden's approval rating remains at a pathetic 41%. Oh, and it gets worse. The so-called urban ring counties, those surrounding cities, now prefer a Republican control of Congress by 5 points. Okay, do you remember I did all those articles about how the GOP has lost the suburbs forever? Now, as hard as it is to believe, it turns out that a lot of suburbanites like safe streets. They like a strong economy and strong border, you bet. According to this same poll, the most important issues for voters are inflation, immigration, and, of course, safety, crime. Democrats have bombed on each one. On the economy, Biden's approval, by the way, is underwater now by a whopping 19 points. And it's probably going to drop even further on today's inflation announcement. It must.
Up 6.8, and this, of course, is a new record. That is the highest level since June of 1982. X, food and energy, year over year, it's up 4.9. That is the highest level since June of 1991. We'll call it 30 years.
Any way you slice it, inflation is raging, devastating workers' wages and family savings. But after the White House invited reporters over recently for a special off-camera briefing, magically the press found reasons for great optimism.
To me, we have the strongest economy perhaps I have ever seen. Oh, people are confident about their jobs. I say fantastic. And the ability to even get better ones if they want to. They're spending more than I've ever seen, but they're doing it with cash, not on credit. They're doing so in a roaring 20s style.
Cost at the pump finally easing up, with the national average for a gallon of regular falling to $3.35, the lowest since October. Just look at that.
How insulting and monstrously out of touch. But at least Joe Biden has a smart number two behind him who can step in to offer sage advice in difficult times. Oh, wait. With Kamala Harris, the Democrats are between a rock and a hard place. If something should happen to Biden, or if he doesn't run for re-election, which he won't, they're stuck now with an unqualified, unintelligent, and completely unlikable woman as their presumptive frontrunner. In a hypothetical Trump-Kamala Harris matchup, Trump receives 50% support, Harris 41% support. Trump would win the Electoral College in a landslide with that margin. And with their supposed backup plan, Mayor Pete, Democrats are in even deeper trouble. In a Trump-Buttigieg matchup, the former president receives an 11-point margin of victory. Okay. This is what happens when you put diversity over merit. Talent and experience, in the end, always win out. And it turns out that minorities value competence and results just as much as anyone else. So it makes sense that with the Biden wreckage piling up, the GOP is seeing a huge gain among Hispanic voters. A recent Wall Street Journal poll notes that Hispanic voters are now evenly split in their choice for Congress. 37% said they'd support the Republican congressional candidate, and 37% said they'd favor the Democrat. Now, in 2020, Biden beat Trump among Hispanics by 30 points. But now, in a head-to-head matchup, the Journal recorded the vote is evenly split, 43 to 43. That is stunning. And we're not just talking huge gains in Texas and Florida. They're big gains for Republicans in parts of the Northeast as well. So the lesson for Republicans is obvious. Trump's policies worked. There's no going back to the old perpetual war, open borders, globalist views of yesteryear. Soon, they should, if they're smart, unveil a new 21st century contract with America. Cut middle-class taxes, revive the oil and gas industry through exploration, shake up education, advance small businesses, reinvigorate American manufacturing. It's all a winning strategy. And any Republican who goes down the path of Liz Cheney will just be joining the Democrats in their Thelma and Louise ending. And that's the angle.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.